Hey, folks, thanks for coming back and tuning in to part 2 of this week's show featuring two amazing instructors, Debbie O'Connell and Keith Jarvis. Debbie, you know, has been a wonderful friend for many years on this show. I believe tonight's her 15th appearance with me. She is an LPGA top 50 instructor. Golf Digest has named her one of the top 50 best women teachers in America, and she's a former Northeast Section Teacher of the Year. This week, Debbie's going to continue to help refine your mental approach and help you have more fun out there on the golf course. We're definitely going to get into her new course, Conquer Your Golf Mind, which is available coming up here on October the 21st, so just a few days from now. But she gives you a great coupon code. It's a 5-day program. You can either be there live or they're recorded. It's going to help you take your handicap way down. She's got a wonderful story tonight about one of her students who went from a 22.3 all the way down to a 13.9. If that interests you and that piques your thoughts, stay tuned. This is going to be a wonderful segment for you, and she's going to give you great access at a very cheap price to get involved and take a look at this course. So hang on for Debbie. She's going to lead off part 2, and then she's going to be followed, like I say, by Keith Jarvis, a wonderful friend for many years on this show, one of the top instructors in the state of New Jersey. He spent this summer out at one of the hidden gem courses on the very tip of Long Island, Montauk Downs Golf Course. Tom Patri sings his praises. Megan Younkman is the director of instruction there. We're going to take you deep inside that golf course. We'll also talk about Keith's wonderful junior program, and then we'll get you some tips and lessons to how to play in the wind, because that place, like I say, on the tip of Long Island, a lot of wind, a lot of rain. We'll talk about that and how to play your best golf there. So thank you for coming back. Thank you for tuning in. Sit back, relax, let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next hour or so. Before we get started, I want to remind you about our friends over at 2 Under. 2 Under men's performance briefs are the unofficial underwear of the PGA, Ryder Cup, and President's Cup teams, and are sold in over 3,000 golf pro shops and golf specialty retailers nationwide. Ricky Fowler is their global ambassador, and over 50 other PGA, Korn Ferry, and Champions Tour players wear them. Just to mention a few, they are David Toms, Jerry Kelly, Justin Thomas, William McGirt, Scott McCarron, and Chris DeMarco. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management, delivering maximum comfort from the tee box to the boardroom to the bedroom. Go to 2under.com to check out the bundle specials that offer substantial discounts for being a Next on the Tee listener. That's the number 2, UNDR.com. 2 Under, performance in your pants.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
All right, now back in Next on the Tee with me, as you guys know, is not only one of my all-time favorite guests, but also one of my favorite people on the planet, and that is Debbie O'Connell. Debbie is an LPGA Class A teaching professional and a top 50 LPGA instructor. In 2002, she was named both the LPGA National Professional of the Year and the LPGA Southeast Section Professional of the Year. 2004, high school alma mater Ridgewood High up in New Jersey inducted her into their Athletics Hall of Fame. 2007, she won the inaugural Nancy Lopez Golf Achievement Award, which is given annually to the person who emulates the qualities valued by Nancy, which are leadership, passion, giving, and approachability. She has been recognized by Golf Digest as one of the top 50 best women teachers in America. In 2016, she was named a Northeast Section Teacher of the Year. She's the co-host of the Tee to Green radio show, which you can find out on iHeartRadio, and she is also the founder of Golf Positive, which offers multimedia golf tips and articles to enhance both your golf game and your life. And she's written a wonderful book, which is titled Golf Positive, Live Positive, Lessons in Golf and Life, which you can get out on Amazon.com or you can listen to it on Audible. And I couldn't be more excited. I get to have her back with me again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Debbie, how are you, my friend?
I am fantastic, Chris. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. You are just the best, and congratulations to you and all of the success of this show. And I see why, I hear why. You have great guests. You are incredible at hosting. So thank you. I'm honored and humbled to be back on the show.
I appreciate that very much. Debbie, before we get into all the golf stuff, family first now. How are your mom and dad?
My dad is doing great, 91 years old and still going strong. It's just, I'm so blessed. And mom is great. We play golf together a few times this summer, and she plays every week. Absolutely loves it.
That's awesome. Debbie, I want to start with your Conquer Your Golf Mind class, which you've got coming up here on October the 21st, just a couple of days from now. Tell our listeners about all the great things they're going to learn when they go and sign up.
Oh, yeah. And I hope they do, because I have such a passion of supporting people who want to continue to learn and grow and be their best, right? And what I have found is people shift their mindset for golf. It also shifts their mindset in life. As we know, us golfers, all the things you experience on the golf course, you experience in life as well. So with Conquer Your Golf Mind, we help you to understand flow state. We get to that part. We're going to get rid of all those negative thoughts that you have and the emotions that come up. We're going to get you to take your game to the next level because of the mental game. If you imagine being confident over every shot, being focused in the present moment, wouldn't your entire game improve? I mean, it's just amazing. You just think of that, every shot with confidence and focus, and your entire game improves, working on one aspect of the game, which is the mental game. We can take lessons on all of parts of the game, and I teach all parts of the game, and I'm encouraging you to do that as well. But if you want the fastest, easiest way to lower your handicap now, work on your mental game. And the responses I get, the transformations I've seen, the feedback from the people who've attended have shown me that this is one of the most transformational mindset courses you can experience in the game.
So speaking of handicap, because I want you to tell this story, you have a wonderful testimonial posted out on your Instagram page from one of your students who went from a 22.3 handicap all the way down to a 13.9, which is a phenomenal jump in handicap. How did that happen?
Well, we understood her negative thoughts and emotions that were getting in the way. So she would get so angry after a shot. You think anybody listening could relate to that, maybe?
Right?
Right. This golf can bring these emotions out in us. She would beat herself up. She would get angry. She would get impatient during slow play. And all of these things were in the way of her best golf. She had the skills and the talent, but her mindset is what got in the way. So when we understood from where all this negative emotion was coming, because she said, you know what, I get angry in other areas. I'm constantly looking to defend myself or prove myself in other areas of life as well. So this is a pattern, and we figured out the pattern, and then we get to the root cause of it. Because, think about this as an example. I've had the student who holds the club so tightly, and I imagine some people listening also do the same thing, and you hear, loosen your grip, loosen your grip. Well, this particular student couldn't get loose in her hands. And I said, well, what happens when you loosen your grip? She said, I feel out of control. And I said, are you uncomfortable feeling out of control in other areas? She said, oh my gosh, I'm the biggest control freak. So what the brain does is it looks back and says, oh my gosh, that feels out of control. The other gal who lowered her handicap would be like, oh, I did something bad and wrong, thinking that her whole world was going to blow up if she wasn't perfect, because that's what would happen in her house when she grew up. This gal, when she felt out of control, her brain went, wait, what does that mean? And when she was out of control as a kid, she felt unsafe. This is how powerful our brains are. And it so quickly goes back and relates it to a previous experience. Your brain remembers everything, and it's all in your unconscious mind. So her brain then says, hey, this is unsafe to feel out of control. And the other gal would get so angry because she felt like she let others down. She was a failure. If she didn't do everything perfectly, everything will just explode around her. And these are from unconscious beliefs. And once we understand the root cause, we can shift it. We can release those old beliefs and create new empowering beliefs. And that's what Susan did. And I talk to her consistently still, and she talks about now even playing in flow state, which is when you totally lose your self-confidence. You're in the present moment. You don't fear any outcome at all over any shot. You're relaxed and focused. And that's where I want to help people get to in terms of their mindset. I'm different than others. I teach that take a deep breath, visualize your shot, have a pre-shot routine, have a positive post-shot reaction. All of that is important as well. And then I want to understand what is truly in the way. And I'm going to help you release that and learn how to release that in the 5-day Conquer Your Golf Mind Challenge.
Debbie, you often talk about the importance of having a confident posture when we have those knee knocker putts or trying to save par from 5 to 6 feet out. Many times we're thinking about what's going to happen if I miss this putt. How am I going to feel? Are my playing partners, going to laugh at me or what have you? Instead of confidently striding up to that putt and visualizing it going in, how can we stop doing that negative thing?
That's such a great question, Chris, because we can be in a situation and be excited for the opportunity, or we can fear failing it. And again, so much of that comes from what is your mindset in other areas of life. So here are the tips in the moment. Now, I'm hoping you've done some work beforehand, maybe some meditation, seeing yourself in that situation and doing it successfully. So you've already worked on some of the mindset and confidence. But even if you haven't, stand in that power posture, the superhero pose. I like to call it my Wonder Woman pose. If anybody follows me at all, I love Wonder Woman. So I call it my Wonder Woman pose. Put a smile on your face. That literally releases serotonin and dopamine. Those are our happy drugs. You want to release that in the moment. Be thankful for the opportunity. Literally say, oh my, I am so thankful I have this opportunity. It was Billie Jean King who said, pressure is a privilege. And then the other positive thoughts, I've got this, I can do this. Visualize that ball going in and get excited about the opportunity and realize those nerves, they don't stop you from performing well. And I share my story about when I had a 300 game. I was shaking from head to toe. This was bowling. I had 11 strikes in a row, needed one more for that perfect 300 game, a goal of mine for years, and literally shaking from head to toe. And what I realized after that moment, when I was able to take my deep breath, say me and my spot, and that's where your focus wants to be, on your target, on your intention. Keep your focus there on the intended target. Don't start thinking about the nerves you feel in your body or your knees shaking or anything else except your target and what you want the ball to do. And I did that in bowling. I threw the ball with complete balance, even though I wasn't even sure I could walk. So I want everyone to know you can succeed and perform even if you are shaking from head to toe.
Debbie, I love your most recent Talk Tuesday video where you talk about what the fall season can teach us. Talk about letting go so we can grow.
Oh gosh, there's so much we can let go of. We can let go of the negative thoughts, the negative emotions. We can let go of things stopping us from achieving our greatest goals. We can, and what I talked about this morning was the 80-20 rule. And one goal I set this morning during that message was to let go of clothes in my closet. The saying is you wear 20% of the clothes in your closet 80% of the time. So there's 80% of my closet I can clear out, and also then give those clothes to someone who would wear those clothes 80% of the time. So that would make me feel even better. So that was the example I used in terms of life, but it is that 80-20 rule. And everyone can look at, what do I want to let go of? It's the fall season. Let things fall off of you or get rid of them, or get the coaching you need to move forward and be lighter in a way. It's kind of like, what do you want to have in life and what don't you want to have anymore in your life? And if you can get rid of fear, anger, sadness, and we're not going to get rid of them forever, Chris, but that frustration we get on the golf course, it doesn't have to be that way in golf. We're human beings with emotion. And when we can truly be in a positive state on the golf course because we've done the work to get through the anger, frustration, and fear and doubt that's getting in the way of a great golf game, you will play to your potential. And don't we all want to do that? We have our potential and we can play to it when you are in the right state of mind. And it's letting things fall off. It's the fall season. So as you're looking at those leaves, I want you to think of me, think of Chris, think of this show and go, wait a minute, what can I release today? And if you don't know how to do that on your own, get the coaching you need to let go of things not serving you.
That's awesome. Debbie, switching gears just a little bit, we had another exciting Solheim Cup. This time the U.S. won for the first time since 2017. You always do a wonderful trip in conjunction with that event. Give us your thoughts on what you saw at the Solheim Cup and then your trip this year as well.
The energy on the U.S. team, actually both teams have a lot of energy, but here's what was different about the U.S. team. They were having fun the entire time. And I am on the first tee for every shot, every tee shot. And I absolutely love it. We do our little cheers in the stands and we dance along and sing along with the music. And of the 12 Americans who played that weekend, every one of them had the crowd screaming and yelling as they teed off. And 10 of the 12 had music playing while they teed off on the first tee.
Is that right?
Yeah, every single one. It was amazing to watch, and it's more fun for the fans that way because we're screaming and yelling, and they're teeing off, and then they hit the shot, and Megan Kang is so exciting to when she's on the team too. She's constantly getting the crowd up, but everyone on the team seemed a bit more relaxed. Their intention almost was to have fun, which was evident when you see caddies taking off their shirts, right? Did anyone see that?
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the players, but one of the caddies said to her player, hey, if any of you hole out a shot, I'll give you $500. I think Megan Kang was involved in this, actually. I'll give you $500. And the players said, you know what? I don't want your money. How about if one of us hole out, you guys take off your shirts? And they were like, all right, we're in. Well, that was on the tee of the second hole. And I forget, Allison Lee, I think, I forget who it was.
That sounds right.
Knocked it in from the fairway. That right then, she holed out. So talk about manifesting your future. Everyone, put out there the scores you want to shoot. Think about it. Think about what's possible in your game and get the proper coaching you need to get it. It'll happen. We can create our future. But so that's what I noticed. The crowds were great. There was a little snafu Friday morning with some transportation, and anybody following it probably heard about that. The LPGA took action, fixed that right away. But the crowds, I was in the pavilion when the U.S. sealed the deal, and it was packed in there, and everyone was screaming, yelling, cheering, and the USA chants got going. So there's so much energy. If you've never been to a Solheim Cup or a Ryder Cup. Now, a Ryder Cup has a lot more fans, which I think it's harder to see everything. I was at a Ryder Cup just actually on a Wednesday. I was doing a speaking engagement for Ernst & Young. It was neat. Jack Nicklaus was the day before, and then I was the speaker afterwards in their chalet on the 18th hole. So I was there on a Wednesday. I was like, the crowd was huge. It hadn't even started yet. And I've been to Solheim Cups all throughout, from the practice rounds to the end. And it really is a fun experience. I'm already working on my trip to the Netherlands, which is in 2 years. In 4 years, it's in Louisville, Kentucky. I love this event, and I so enjoy running my group. We play golf for 2 days. We have an opening dinner with a DJ and dancing. We have our closing cocktail reception. It's absolutely a blast. And so if you want to get to the Netherlands, it's a great way to go when you don't have to worry about any of the details. It's all taken care of for you. Golf, Solheim Cup tickets, transportation. You just have to get to the to Amsterdam. Once you land in the airport, on the day I start my trip, we take care of the rest for you. It's really fun. There's information Right now, I'm just collecting deposits because I'm working with my tour operator on finalizing the details. But it's coming soon, and I'll get that information out. So just keep an eye on my website for that, or follow me on social media, and I'll let you know when the full plan is out. Or get your deposit in now, because I do sell out of this event every year, so you can secure your spot with a refundable $500 deposit even. But it's fun.
I had Susie Whaley on the show a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about how exciting the Solheim Cup was. But many of the best players on the LPGA Tour are from other countries that don't get to participate in the Solheim Cup. They're from Asia, they're from Canada, they're from Australia, New Zealand, you name it. And unfortunately, those countries aren't a part of this event. Is it time for a President's Cup like event, Debbie? You think on the ladies' side as well?
I think that would be phenomenal because it would bring in all of the other countries. Uh, and I'm not sure if our ladies would dominate like the men do on the PGA tour, but it would be phenomenal. I know some people are talking about, hey, how about since the men are dominating so much on the PGA, we bring the women in as well. We have it a men and women's event, which I'm not sure if logistically that is even possible. I mean, anything's possible really if you figure it out. But yeah, I think that would be great because I have friends from Canada who are like, I root for the U.S., but boy, it'd be great if we could have some Canadians in there. And of course, like you said, there's so many great players around the world and including Asia that don't get to compete in this event. So I think it'd be great. I think it'd be another fantastic stage for women's golf to show the best of the best and how talented these women are in this game.
Susie also suggested that perhaps we have a U.S. and international women that join the men in the President's Cup. So we kind of have a mixed event. And I thought that's a unique idea. On the men's side, the President's Cup hasn't been competitive in years, right? And the U.S. has dominated this thing. So it feels like they need something, a format change, something to kind of spruce up that event, and having the U.S. women and the U.S. men and the international women and the international men kind of team up in a mixed pairs event. To me, that sounds like genius.
I would love that. When I think I read it somewhere that someone put out that idea, and my immediate response was that would be phenomenal. It'd be phenomenal for the President's Cup, as you said. It's not quite as competitive. It's not competitive, right? Really.
No.
And the U.S. the guys dominate, and bringing in all of the great players, the female players from the international team would really make it competitive. And I love the idea of teaming up, making it a team event. It would be fun. I used to love the Wendy's 3-Tour Challenge.
Yes.
When
me too.
LPGA played against the seniors, the Champions Tour and the PGA Tour. That was a phenomenal event. And they used to have it was years ago, the JCPenney Classic, where it was a PGA and LPGA tour member teamed up for a 2-person team event. It was. I love those events. I think it adds a different flair to the game.
Yeah, I miss those sort of events. This time of year started to get into what they used to call silly season, right? Where you had the Skins game and the 3-Tour Challenge and the JCPenney, all that sort of stuff sort of happened at this time of the year. And when you sort of got burned out on the tour and all that was done, and those were fun events, and I love to see the camaraderie and the team building that the men and the women had together when they would play. I miss that.
I do too, Chris. Maybe we should start pushing to get that
right.
back.
I agree. Debbie, before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with all the great things you're out there doing, and remind them again how they can sign up for your Conquer Your Golf Mind course.
Yeah, here's what I want to do. And Chris, I want to give your listeners, because I just think the world of you, and your listeners are amazing. They have you up there at number one, including me. I'm one of them who really loves your show. So if you text the word yes, like say yes to your game, say yes to conquering your mind. I mean, who wouldn't want to lower their scores faster and easier than ever with a mindset shift? You're going to text yes to this number, 727-339-0106. 727-339-0106. You text yes to that, and then you'll get a link signed directly up to conquer your golf mind. My next one is coming up at Act Fast, October 21st. It starts. It's starting Monday. And it's 5 days. Even if you can't be on live every day, we send a replay. You get your own personal master certified coach to help you put everything I teach you in the daily sessions together. So text that. And also go on my website. It's debbie-o'connell.com. You'll see information there about my first ever Golf Positive retreat. It's my golf school that I have coming up in the first weekend in April. Don't worry, the Masters is the next weekend. And if you want to work with me live, I would love it. And we're going to hit mindset to fitness, golf fitness to golf performance skills. And we're going to take you on the course so you can put it all together on the golf course as well. So Debbie, DEBBIE -OCONNELL.com. Stay in touch. Look for me on social media as well. Chris, thank you so much. And I can't wait. And put Chris in there. Oh, I want to give you the code. The coupon code for Conquer is Conquer50. So the whole week, it's 5 days. Imagine this, going to 5 days of lessons and having your own personal coach. And it's only the price of less than one golf lesson. It's $97. And because you listen to this amazing show, you get $50 more off with the coupon code.
Wow.
Conquer50. It's a ridiculous deal. My team is always like, Debbie, why are you giving it away for for that much? It's $1,000 value. And it's a special I wanted to give your listeners, Chris.
Well, I thank you very much for that, Debbie. You're fantastic as always. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show. You know how much you mean to me and what you've meant to the show over the years, the many times that you have joined me, the content that you have provided, and now obviously the value that you're providing in this program for us is just unbelievable. I can't thank you enough. You're fantastic, my friend.
It is so my pleasure. I love the game. I have a passion to help people, and you're one of my favorite people in the whole world, Chris. So it's a delight for me to be with you.
Take care, Debbie. All the best to you and your family. I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thanks, Chris. You too.
See you, Debbie. That is the great Debbie O'Connell. She is just wonderful, isn't she? I mean, how great is an individual that is Debbie O'Connell? Right? First of all, remember, you got to follow her on social media. She's on Instagram at Debbie_O_Connell. And then to her point, look, text the word yes to 727-339-0106. And when you get to put in the code Conquer50, you're going to get all of the great content and all the great instruction and the things that are going to help you swing and help your mind play your best golf ever. Like, be the next person that goes from a 22 down to a 13 handicap. What would you pay for that? Right? I mean, $47 to get to that? Of course you would. Why wouldn't all of us? Go do that. Go sign up and get this course. And then let me know what you think, because I'll pass that along to Debbie. But look, there's a reason why I've said every time Debbie has been a part of the show, she's one of my favorite people on the planet. And that's because she makes the game fun. She helps educate us on how to hit great shots and then how to get our mind right. So you marry those two things together. That's how you go from a 22 to a 13. And then what does that do for you? How much more fun is the game when you go out there, as she said, and you stand over a shot with confidence, whether it's on the tee, in the fairway, or over a putt? When you stand there confidently and you envision yourself doing the good things, and Debbie has been wonderful over the years to talk about how to get rid of those negative thoughts and the negative self-talk and replace it with positive things. Boy, just everything that she does and has been brought to this show, outstanding, 100% outstanding. Can't wait to catch up with her. Please let me know what you think about the course, and I'll pass that along to Debbie as well. Coming up next is one of the great friends that I've made on this show, a guy who's one of the top instructors in the state of New Jersey and just spent this summer out at a hidden gem on the tip of Long Island, which you're going to hear all about in just a moment, and that is Keith Jarvis. Before Keith joins me, let's talk about our friends over at Squares Golf. And folks, do you sway and you're off balance in your golf swing? You know what? It could be your shoes. A golf shoe needs structure to provide stability and reduce sway. How can you tell if your shoes lack structure and are hurting your game? If you can hold your shoes by the toe and heel and twist it, toss it. Squares was designed for the perfect balance of structure and comfort. Isn't it time you tried Squares? Try the new Speedbolt at squares.com. That's SQAIRZ.com. Okay, now back in next on the tee with me is Keith Jarvis. Keith has been a wonderful friend over the years. He's had a playing career and been a teaching professional for almost 30 years. He has taught here in the U.S., plus over in Japan and in Mexico. He was a lead instructor for ESPN's golf schools back in 2006 when Hank Haney was the Dean of Instruction. He's taken lessons from Hank and attended his Teach the Teacher sessions. He hosted a golf school here in Atlanta with Andy Plummer and Mike Bennett, who are the founders of the Stack and Tilt Swing philosophy. Keith was the head golf pro and the director of instruction at the Heritage Golf Club here in Atlanta. He is a Golf Channel Academy lead instructor up in New Jersey. He is also a certified U.S. kids coach. And like I say, this year, he's been out on Long Island at Montauk Downs State Park Golf Course, which is a beautiful place on the very tip of Long Island. Can't wait to hear Keith tell the stories about that, and I am excited. He is back with me again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Keith, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Chris, how are you? Thank you so much for having me tonight.
So, Keith, a few weeks ago, I got to have Megan Younkman on the show, and we talked about Montauk Downs Golf Course as one of the hidden gems, and what a wonderful facility you've got out there. And on top of that, it's affordable on Long Island. Tell me about it.
I mean, it's honestly, it's hard to believe. I mean, you know, I've worked mostly at private clubs most of my career. And, you know, first of all, I got to give a shout out to Kelly Brook and Megan and the whole staff at Montauk Downs, Angela Tocco, Matt Schwartz, and a few of the other kids that worked out there. They were all super welcoming. And, you know, Kelly gave me the opportunity to go out there for the summer. And Megan was super nice. And everybody was just very warm and welcoming, and it was just a great opportunity. And I got to thank everybody out there for making me feel welcome.
So talk about the golf course itself, because not only does it look like a very special place, it's out there on the very tip of Long Island. You're kind of like at the end of the universe out there.
That's what they call it. They call it the end, right? So I got there in May, which probably was a little bit early, but I wanted to get my feet on the ground and figure out my way around. And you know, you go to this course and it's top 7 in the state for public courses, and you're just kind of out there at the very end of the world. And when I got there in May, I was shocked at what an incredible course it was and what great shape it was in, and the greens and the layout. And, you know, from what I understand, they don't have a lot of maintenance crew out there. So it's honestly hard to believe what kind of shape they keep that course in all summer long. It's an amazing place. And, you know, I haven't been on the range outside in like 30 years. I've been teaching indoors forever. Maybe not quite that long, but it feels like that. And man, I got my share of vitamin D out there for the summer for sure.
And Keith, I had Jason Hayes on earlier in the show, and we were talking about playing in windy conditions out at his course in Kansas. Montauk, as we said, you're kind of out there, and there's like that tip of Long Island and a lot of ocean. Must be very windy conditions out there all the time. What was it like for you trying to play golf and teach golf out at that course?
It's all you want out there on different days. The wind could be blowing really hard. It's raining in and out, you know, some days. And it's the course itself is difficult. The rough is tough. You know, it's a very undulated course. Most of the greens are elevated complexes that are um you know, difficult. You know, to me, it seemed like it always looked farther than what my laser said it was. So I had to really rely on the number to hit some shots. But I'll tell you what, I've always enjoyed playing in the rain and in the wind, and it just makes it so much more challenging. And it's difficult. It's funny because, you know, you know, if you played golf your whole life and it's like you don't want to play in the morning anymore. You don't want to play when it's cold anymore. You don't want to play when it's raining. And I had junior elites out there, and a couple of the kids. We did lessons on one day and 9 holes on another day during the week. So we were getting ready to play 9. I was getting ready to play 9 with a couple of the kids, And it starts raining, and all I can think of is like, okay, yeah, this is going to cancel. This isn't going to work. Or the kids are going to cancel, right? And I didn't have a rain jacket. The kids come out. I'm like, so what do you guys think? And they're like, let's go to the tee. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's go to the tee. And at first I was like, oh my God, it's raining. I don't want to play in this. And I got out there with these two boys that were just having the best time of their life, and it just brought back so many memories of when me and a friend of mine, Scott Gruber, used to play at San Dimas Canyon Golf Club in California. And it would be raining, and we loved it so much because everybody'd leave, right? And we just grab our rain jackets and our umbrellas and some extra towels, and we walked the course until they kicked us off of there in the rain. And I learned to love it. And I remember Gary Player. There's a video out there somewhere where he talks about he learned to love to play in the rain. He said because when you got to a tournament and it was raining, everybody was so miserable, didn't want to play, hated the rain. He knew he beat like 75% of the field because they were already out of it just because of their attitude about playing in the rain. And I think, when I was younger, I kind of heard that story and I kind of adopted that, and there was a lot of things like that helped me become the player and the coach that I am today. And man, I had the best time out there with those guys in the rain. It was so much fun, and it was great to just see them, enjoying the game as much as they were, no matter the conditions. And I think, I guess, if you're out there in that area, whether it be a month in the summer or maybe you live out there, whatever. I mean, you're just used to playing that kind of golf, and I mean, nobody backs down from that out there, and that's what I kind of love. That it kind of made me fall back in love with those conditions all over again.
That's fantastic. So let's take that a little bit further. For those of us that aren't used to playing in those kinds of conditions, and we get one of those rainy, windy days, what are the things that we need to take into considerations? What changes do we need to make so that we can still go out and shoot a good score?
Well, I think one of the most important things in my mind would be to be prepared from an equipment standpoint. Like, make sure you got a rain jacket in your bag. Make sure you got some rain pants. Make sure you've got extra towels and an umbrella. All those things make it easier to get around in those kind of conditions. But and the other thing too, talking about your swing, once you got a golf shirt on and a pullover and a rain jacket, the swing's a little more restricted. So you just kind of got to get used to that little 3/4 swing. And I think if you just, for me, and the way I go about teaching is what I'm concerned the most about more than anything is ball striking. So it's the number one differentiator between good players and players that aren't as good. So if you're a pretty good ball striker, if I can help you become a better ball striker, the whole thing gets easier no matter what, right? So you're hitting the ball more solid, you're hitting it farther, even if the swing's a little shorter. It's all about being prepared for those conditions, and it goes back to what Debbie was saying. Like, when we go through Titleist Performance Institute Junior Coach, the number one thing that it has to be to keep kids interested and adults interested is, number one, it's got to be fun. So if you don't make it fun, they're not going to stick around very long, right? So I didn't want to be the coach that spoiled everything because it was raining and they wanted to play. So I just went for it, and it was great. But I think it's got to be fun. They want to be able to do it with their friends, siblings, um, you know, um, and then number three, they got to feel like they can be good at it. And that comes down to ball striking. If they're hitting all the balls in the air, even if it's not super solid at the beginning, you teach somebody to hit all the balls in the air as fast as possible, and they feel like they can figure it out. It's all the toppers, the grounders, and the chunks and stuff like that makes them feel like it's going to be too hard to learn, right?
Yeah.
So so
Okay.
I think just focusing on that, making sure everybody has a clear understanding of how to get all the balls in the air and then how to hit them solid and far, then it doesn't matter what it's like out there. You just play.
Keith, I want to go back into your teaching career because you've worked alongside some of the best instructors in the history of our game. I mentioned Hank Haney in your intro. You've also been around Butch Harmon, Andy Plummer, and Mike Bennett, to name a few. Talk about what you gleaned from being around those guys that influenced how you teach the golf swing.
Well, I think part of all that was me still trying to figure out my game. Like I lost my swing. I didn't know what to do. Hank was gone from California when I got back from Japan. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know who to trust. And so over time, it was about um, trying to get my game back in shape and trying to find somebody that I believed in that helped me, and to recover. And over the course of time, you learn so much from guys like that. They've got so much experience, and I think you take a lot of that in, and you figure out what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and you build what you do around everything that you've learned in the past. I mean, I think that's what makes me such a versatile instructor. I think a lot of people try to pigeonhole me into the Haney or the stack and tilt or this or that. But I have so many certifications, and I think that gives me a lot of flexibility to say, okay, what's the most important thing to helping somebody get better? The first thing I always look at is, can they get all the balls in the air, and then can they move the divot so they can compress the ball and hit it far? Um, a lot of that I learned from Hank. Some of the stuff that Mike and Andy taught me, being around them and going through their certifications was some of the best things that I ever learned, because they were the ones that really helped me figure out what was wrong with my game. I didn't have a swing problem; I had a contact problem, and I say that to this very day to a lot of people that I'm watching out there. Like I'll tell them, I'll be like, they'll ask questions. Oh, well, how's my grip? Well, how's my posture? Well, how's my stance? How's this? And I'm like, guys, girls, you've got great swings. You've got a contact problem. We got to stay focused on that. We don't need to change anything but getting you to the ground to get all the balls in the air and then moving the divot in front of the ball. And how do we do that as fast as possible to put this thing back together? And I think people are shocked sometimes that I can make it pretty easy for them to figure it out. If you just do I remember Andy saying something, and I think we've talked about this one time before. He said most players are learning the wrong things or learning the right things in the wrong order. And it's very systematic. It's a system about, and it's like, and it was all built out of the golfing machine, right? And Matt O'Grady. So, I'm a golfing machine GSEM also. And I think that's one thing that really helped me figure a lot of things out. There's a lot of different ways to get it done. But when you look at what the best players in the world have in common, like I said, the number one differentiator between good players and bad players is contact. Their ability to move the divot in front of the ball, hit the ball first and then the ground. So if you can teach somebody to do that, they can get away with a lot in their swing, especially at the beginning, without having to change much.
And Keith, when you're working with a weekend warrior like me who's out to try to break a mental barrier score, like, look, Keith, I'm trying to, I've never broke 80. I've never broken 90. I've never broken 100. We got that mental barrier that we can't get past a certain score. How do you help from a mental side to try to get over that hurdle?
So, I know that I've done some stuff with Steve Yellen, so I believe
Yep.
in the mental part. A lot of my focus is switched to that, in that direction, even at the very beginning, just teaching players how to calm the mind, use cues so they're not in the prefrontal cortex, being on what Steve calls checklist city. You're behind the ball, do this, don't do that. You're walking into the ball, do this, don't do that. You're setting up to the ball, do this, don't do that. It's exhausting. You can't play that way, and you can't play good that way. So we have these mental cues that help distract those thoughts so that they get, number one, the breathing helps them get more quiet, and then the cues keep the prefrontal cortex distracted. Steve says, you already know how to swing, just pull the trigger, right? And so I think that goes back to P and Lynn too. Um, they say that they're watching players warm up on the range before a golf school, and they're all taking less time with great swings, hitting good shots, and then as soon as they get to the course, they take 3 times as long to pull the trigger with a totally different swing. So how does that happen, right? I think Debbie was kind of talking a little bit about that earlier. So what I do a lot of the times, it's all let's just say, for instance, you've got a goal that you want to break a certain number. So I used the scorecard that I got from Joe Bosco. It's called the 3-ball scramble. So if we were out there together, I would say, let's use this special scorecard where you get to hit 3 balls for every shot. First thing I would ask you is, what's your average for 9 holes? So what would you say it is?
I'm generally around 42.
Okay. And if you could play your own personal 3-ball scramble, how much better do you think you could shoot if you could play a 3-ball scramble?
That's a good question. I would bet you I could, probably take off 4 or 5 shots.
Yeah, right. So I'd write down, let's call it 82, right? And then 4 or 5 shots better than that would be, or sorry, 82, 42, would be 38, right?
Right.
So that would be the number we'd write down, that you would guesstimate that if you played a 3-ball scramble, you could shoot a 38 at least. And what I would say about that is, once you get going in this thing, like, it shocks most people that they actually shoot lower than they think they can. And I get a lot of people that say, I could probably take 2 shots off, or 4 shots is a pretty good amount to take off in a 3-ball scramble, your own personal. But it's kind of surprising that um, what kind of scores you can shoot playing your own 3-ball scramble. So a playing lesson might consist of something like that, where I'm taking you out there to play a 3-ball scramble. And maybe another time we go out and play, and I'm taking notes the whole time. Okay, he has trouble from 100 yards. He can't hit greens from 100 yards. Or maybe it's 150, or maybe it's 25, whatever that is, right? I'm going, okay, he sculled a couple over the green, he chunked a couple into the green at 25 yards. That's something that needs to be tightened up if he wants to shoot lower scores. So it might be where I take you out, we hit driver, and we drop from 25 yards, and we play from there. That's op 36, right? So I'm kind of working on a new program right now called Project Even Par, the fastest way to the lowest score of your life. And it doesn't matter um, what level you're at. If you can't break 100, you can't break 90, you can't break 80. This is what I would tell you is, everybody's a tour player from 1 foot away. My 99-year-old grandmother could make a 1-foot putt. At what point do you move further away from the hole that you can no longer compete with the better players? Is it 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175? Is it 200? We'll find the weakness, right? We'll find the weakness. And once we know what the weakness is, then we know what to do.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Keith, I have stopped fooling myself about trying to aim at the flag. I've realized that I'm not good enough to do that. So what I've started to do is aim for the middle of the green. So if I pull it a little bit, maybe I can still be on the green. If I push it or fade it a little bit, it can still be on the green. So I still have an opportunity at that point to maybe still make par. But I sort of question myself a little bit. Is that a good strategy for a mid handicapper, or in the immortal words of Mike Tomlin, am I living in my fears?
I would say that's a great strategy. The first thing that I would want to do for somebody like you is create some kind of a stock pattern. Do you draw every ball? Do you cut every ball? What is that? How do we create the best one for you in the least invasive way? So let's just say you're a left swinger, and you cut some balls and you pull some balls, but you're 4 to 8 degrees left on every swing. To me, that's a guy that I would just turn into a guy that cuts every ball, right? When you can get up on the tee or get up over a shot and know that all your balls are going to start left and cut, then that's your stock shot. That's your pattern. And then you could go deeper into the middle of the green based on the pattern. It goes deeper, right? So, but what I would say is, I think it's a great strategy. The other part of that strategy too, and this is a big thing for me, and it, is they say a tour player only makes 3 or 4 more birdies than the average player, but they don't make any doubles and triples. So it's not about making a couple mistakes and trying to make birdie. It's about not making bigger mistakes and just staying patient. So for me, I coach all my players to start to understand that if you miss a green in regulation, you are playing for bogey. You have to get that next shot on the green somewhere so that you can two putt and make a bogey and get out of there instead of sculling it over the green or chunking it and not getting on the green and having to hit another shot or not being able to get out of the bunker. You've got to shift your mindset to say, okay, I missed this in regulation. My goal is to not to try to get this close, it's to get it on the green so I can two putt and make my bogey and get out of there. If you get lucky enough to get it close, or you make a long putt, or you make a putt that's a par putt, you get lucky, right? You got away with murder there. The goal is to not make more than a bogey. That'll lower your score for sure.
Absolutely. Something that your peers have also made me realize is that I'm not going to make flush contact, whatever club I have in my hands, every single time. So, in other words, if I have a 7-iron that I would typically hit 155, if I really flushed it and got center face contact, chances are I'm only going to do that 2 or 3 times out of 10. So, most times it's not really going to go that far, and I'm usually going to come up short if I'm going to hit that 7-iron and I think it's going to go 155. Then there's the whole thing that tour players aren't out there taking full swings with their scoring iron, 7, 8, 9 pitching wedge. So if we're 150 yards out, and that is typically a full 8-iron for us, for me particularly, perhaps a 7-iron is a smarter play with a 3/4 swing. From a strategy standpoint, how do you instruct your players on club selection?
I would say that the focus should be more on getting better at ball striking, right? Because it's an easy thing to do, right? So even if you don't have much time to practice, I mean, I remember a coach told me a long time ago, you got to be able to move the divot 100 times out of 100 to ever play any good, right? So think about the fact that if you could hit 100 better, more solid shots, would you ever shoot over 100 again? Would you ever shoot over 90 again? Probably not, right? So scoring, I think the number one in my mind, in the way I go about coaching, is you might come in for 10 lessons and they might all be about contact because I've got you on TrackMan or some other device and I'm watching the smash. I'm like, okay, a 9 should be 28, a 6 should be 38, driver should be 48, and I know some of the others in between there, whatever. But I'm looking at that and going, how many times out of 6 can he get 28 with a 9-iron, 38 with the 6, and 48 with the driver? That would be the most important thing for you to care about, Chris, right?
Yep.
I mean, you just get in there and you put a towel on the ground and you move the divot 6 times in a row, start hitting balls. You don't care, and you can't care where it goes. You just have to care about hitting it solid. Because if you hit it solid, it's still 155. It might be left or right, but then you gotta pitch, right? You're gonna chip one up or pitch one up on the green and take your bogey, take your medicine, and get out of there as long as you don't make anything bigger than that. Ball striking should be everything to every player out there that's learning to play this game, that's been playing this game for 20, 30, 40 years, but still can't hit it solid. It should be the most important thing that they focus on. There shouldn't be anything else until they get that under control. And it's not hard. And a lot of people don't like it, but I learned this from Andy and Mike. You move the weight over to the front foot for a little while and you try to stay there till you get to the top and keep moving the divot. You don't have to stay there forever, but that's the answer. If you're hitting behind the ball, you better move back over there and stay still and focus on moving the divot. It
Keith,
works
one
every time and it works fast.
Keith, one more before I let you go. And
Yep.
I know you've had wonderful students and you've had a lot of success as an instructor. What are some of the things that your students have gone out and achieved that when you sit back really makes you proud of what you do?
Well, Dylan Olinger in Virginia, he's been one of my, well, I should start with Will O'Brien. Will O'Brien, here in New Jersey, we worked really hard for 3 or 4 years, and COVID came. He was really ready to play his best when COVID came. And it kind of set everybody back. And he said, what should we do? What should we do? I said, we keep grinding till next year when you're a senior. And that way you'll be ahead of the pack. So senior year, he goes out and shoots the lowest score in the final round of the tournament to help his team win the division championships. And he gets written up in the papers, the most heroic figure and all this stuff. I mean, I was so happy for him. And, I think he played at High Point, maybe on the club team. I don't know if he played um, full time there. He's really there for business. But, and then my kid in Virginia, Dylan Olinger, um, he won 3 state championships in a row. Um, he got a deal at the school that he wanted to go to, Emory and Henry. Just a phenomenal kid, phenomenal family. His whole family is just incredible. But he's another superstar. My girl here, Gabby Becker, in here in New Jersey. We've been working together, going on our 3rd year now, and I don't remember what she was shooting when I first met her, but she after last year, their team she had the lowest scoring average of her high school team. The team had the lowest scoring average, and this is both of those are in the history of the high school. And
Wow.
she broke her personal best this summer. She was stuck on I want to say 81. She shot 275s in tournaments, so she broke her personal best by 6 shots, and she won 8 tournaments this summer.
Wow. That's
So
amazing.
yeah, it's like I'm just lucky. I'm in the right place at the right time. These kids are so talented. They don't need me. They just need somebody to be supportive and focus on the right things, you know?
Yeah.
So
Well, Keith, before I let you go, remind our listeners, how can they stay up to date with all the great things you're out there doing and follow you, whether it's online or on social media?
yeah, you can see me on Instagram, and I haven't been on X much, but I still have a profile there, and they're both at Keith Jarvis Golf. Um, my email address is keith@keithjarvisgolf.com. My website's www.keithjarvisgolf.com. And yeah, we're here in New Jersey for the winter, so just trying to make it happen. I've been doing a lot of virtual lessons with a really cool software called Golf Live. It's like a FaceTime app, but it allows me to record your swing on my end, draw lines, share it with you live, and then I could also record myself to show you, well, you do this, and I want you to do this, and it's been really great, and people are loving it. It's exciting, actually.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Keith, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your schedule to come back and be a part of the show. You're always awesome, my friend. I always enjoy getting to spend time with you. I hope we get this privilege of having you back on the show again soon.
Chris, it's always an honor to be on your show, and I'm so grateful for you and all your listeners, and I'm just so happy to be back with you again today. It's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care, my friend. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you, Chris. Look forward to it.
See you, Keith.
Bye.
That is the great Keith Jarvis, folks. Again, at Keith Jarvis Golf is where you're going to find him on social media and online. And a guy that has been a wonderful friend of this show for several years. I always enjoy getting to spend some time with Keith. And some of the things that Keith does are different than what you're going to hear other instructors do. And it's great that he has that kind of different bent. And look, as you heard during the course of the conversation in his introduction, he's got a lot of different folks that have kind of melded in from the things that he has learned. And he's got a lot of different disciplines that he has mastered that he brings to the game and he brings to his instruction. And that's what I love about Keith. It's different than other people. And he's going to tell you some different things that you may not have tried before. But when you go out and you practice them and you try them, they're going to work in your golf game. So he is a wonderful friend, a wonderful individual, and somebody that I care about a lot. So I'm so thankful that I got an opportunity to have him back on the show this week. And I hope we get this privilege of having him back on the show again soon. Keith Jarvis Golf. Go out there and follow him and check out his website online as well. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this week's edition of Next on the Tee. I want to send out my sincere thanks again to Lee Steinberg, Jason Hayes, Debbie O'Connell, and Keith Jarvis for making this week's show so much fun to be a part of. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you'll come back and be a part of the show again with me next week. When scheduled to join me are, of course, Tom Patri will be here. Dr. Bob Jones IV, grandson of Bobby Jones, he'll be back with me. Our great friend Matthew Lawrence, he'll be here. And if you're into betting on golf, a guy who has got an uncanny ability, his knowledge and his predictions have been so spot on, it's crazy. His name is Keith Stewart, got a wonderful show called The Pro Show up in the northeast part of the country. He is also just a great guy. I've really enjoyed being around Keith, learned a lot from him. So he's going to be here So it's going to be a really great show, folks. I hope you come back, like I say, and be a part of it. I also want to send out my sincere thanks to our friends over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review for hosting this show on their site. For coverage of everything going on in Western Pennsylvania, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find this show on the home page of the sports section. Just click on sports. You're going to find the most recent episode for you front and center. If you click on sports and then podcast network, you're going to see the Next on the Tee logo, and we've got several episodes of this season available for you there as well. You can also find the show pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content, including on Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, you name it, we're probably on that one as well. And thanks to the friends over at Good Pods for making this show one of their recommended podcasts. So please download their free app and stream your favorite podcast right there on your favorite device. But like I say, each and every week, my thanks go out to all of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.